Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're diving deep into the heart of vulnerability with our executive summary of Daring Greatly by Brené Brown. This isn't just a book, it's a movement about embracing vulnerability and transforming the way we live, love, and lead. Let's unpack this together. Chapter 1. What it means to dare greatly. In this opening chapter, Brown revisits Theodore Roosevelt's Man in the Arena speech, setting the tone for what it means to dare greatly. To dare greatly is to show up, be seen, and live bravely, even when there are no guarantees. This is the essence of vulnerability. Quote, "Vulnerability is not winning or losing. It's having the courage to show up and be seen when we have no control over the outcome." Chapter 2. Introduction. My Adventures in the Arena. Brené Brown shares her personal journey into understanding vulnerability. This chapter sets the stage for a deeper exploration into how opening up about her research on shame and vulnerability was both challenging and transformative. Quote, "Owning our story can be hard, but not nearly as difficult as spending our lives running from it." Chapter 3. Scarcity. Looking inside our culture of never enough. We explore the concept of scarcity, a critical aspect of our culture that thrives on the idea that we are never enough. Brown discusses how this mindset leads to comparison, disengagement, and disconnection from our sense of worthiness. Quote, "For me and for many of us, our first waking thought of the day is, 'I didn't get enough sleep.' The next one is, 'I don't have enough time.' We spend most of the hours and the days of our lives hearing, explaining, complaining, or worrying about what we don't have enough of." Chapter 4. Debunking the vulnerability myths. Brown debunks various myths associated with vulnerability, asserting that vulnerability is not a sign of weakness, but the birthplace of innovation, creativity, and change. Quote, "Vulnerability is not knowing victory or defeat. It's understanding the necessity of both. It's engaging. It's being all in." Chapter 5. Understanding and combating shame. This chapter delves into the relationship between vulnerability and shame. Understanding the triggers of shame can help us combat it and move toward a more wholehearted existence. Quote, "Shame derives its power from being unspeakable. That's why it loves perfectionists. It's so easy to keep us quiet." Chapter 6. The Vulnerability Armory. Brown describes the armory we use to protect ourselves from getting hurt, such as foreboding joy, perfectionism, and numbing. She suggests that recognizing and dismantling these tools can lead to greater connection and a better understanding of ourselves and others. Quote, "When we pretend that we can avoid vulnerability, we engage in behaviors that are often inconsistent with who we want to be." Chapter 7. Mind the Gap. Cultivating Change and Closing the Disengagement Divide. Here, Brown discusses how organizations can foster engagement by addressing the gap between our practiced values and our aspirational values. It's about aligning what we say is important with our actual actions. Quote, "Mind the gap is a daring strategy. We have to pay attention to the space between where we're actually standing and where we want to be." Chapter 8. Disruptive Engagement. Daring to Rehumanize Education and Work. This chapter challenges us to change how we engage in work and educational spaces by fostering a culture of vulnerability, which can lead to greater innovation and inclusivity. Quote, "Connection is why we're here. It is what gives purpose and meaning to our lives. This is what it's all about." Chapter 9. Wholehearted Parenting. Daring to be the adults we want our children to be. Brown argues that vulnerability is at the core of fearlessly parenting. She emphasizes the importance of being the adult you want your children to grow up to be. Quote, "Who we are and how we engage with the world are much stronger predictors of how our children will do than what we know about parenting." Chapter 10. Final Thoughts. In her concluding thoughts, Brown encapsulates the power of vulnerability and how embracing it can lead to a more fulfilling life. Quote, "Daring greatly is not about winning or losing. It's about courage. In a world where scarcity and shame dominate and feeling afraid has become second nature, vulnerability is subversive. It's even a little dangerous at times." Key accountability lessons. Accountability and vulnerability means owning our imperfections and learning from them. It's crucial to create a culture of openness in teams and families alike to enhance mutual trust and respect. By admitting where we can improve, we model accountability and growth for others. Leadership takeaways. Lead by example. Embrace your vulnerabilities to encourage your team to do the same. Cultivate a supportive environment that values honest feedback and continuous improvement. Recognize the strengths in others' vulnerabilities to harness creativity and resilience. So, what's your take on daring greatly? Can you identify areas in your life where being more vulnerable could lead to growth? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more insightful content. Until next time, keep daring and keep growing.